to my video series, The Heroine's Journey. I'm Susanna Liller, and it's time to find your happiness. This video is going to be about the cyclical nature of the heroine's journey, how we take it many, many times in our lives. Some of the women, the heroines that I coach, talk about lap number 55. And I've been on many myself, and I'm in the middle of one right now. So we'll talk about the cyclical nature and the sequence. What are the steps? So an important thing to know is that it's an imaginary road. It's an imaginary path. I mean, we were introduced to it in storytelling. And it's a metaphor for life, just like some people use a book and its chapters as a metaphor for life. It's a visual. For me, that's helpful. I can see, and I always think and draw the example of Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz, the yellow brick road. And what it offers us, besides an inventive and creative way of looking at life, I think what it offers is a very important perspective, a different way of viewing your life. It provides a lens for you to see your walk on that journey as your evolution, as a way to elevate you. And when I talk about it being a spiral instead of a circle, it's every time you go around the markers of the heroine's journey, and we'll talk about those, you learn something new. You have new challenges, you grow a little bit, sometimes a little, sometimes a lot, depending on that particular journey. But when you are done with that journey, you are at a different place. You're a little bit higher in your awareness, your evolution, your growth than you were when you started. And so again, it's a way of being aware of how you can be truly alive as you live life. It's not just necessarily a random bunch of occurrences. You can choose to see it that way. This happened to me. Oh no, it was awful. He left. Oh, and then this happened and this happened. Knowing about the journey and being aware of it and its markers, you can take those things that happen and you can put a purpose to them. You can see why they happened, that perhaps they were molding you to be where you are in this particular way. And so when I have my class in my school for real life heroines, I have a matrix where students actually fill out all the different journeys so they can look back, see the commonalities, see what they've learned. People have said it's almost like I've been guided. Now, let's just talk about that for a bit. Some can see it as a spiritual journey. The way I teach it is, yes, there is a spiritual aspect to it, and the guidance comes from within. And we'll talk about in another video, intuition and how that can be used as another way to guide you on your journey. But, I often use the example of an acorn growing into the huge oak tree. And if you think about the journey, every time you get a nudge or a call to go on a new adventure, a new journey, as a way that growth in you happens like the acorn growing into the tree, then you could really see that every time those nudges happen and you're called to do something, that it does help you reach your purpose and learn, or at least learn more about what your purpose is. So maybe it's in our DNA to grow the way we grow and to have those calls and to take the journey the way we do. But I can tell you that knowing about it and knowing about the markers, having an awareness of it is helpful. Again, a way of seeing your life through a lens that is very powerful and very confidence promoting. So let's talk about the markers. You, the heroine, starts off in a certain place, which we call ordinary day. It's how you go about your life. It's another word, another way to describe it is it's your comfort zone. You're hanging out there. And for a while, maybe it's been just fine for you, but then it starts feeling like it's a suit that just doesn't fit anymore. It's getting too tight. I've heard people talk about it as being in a tent and the tent got too small and you had to break out, or you're just maybe more irritable or feeling frustrated, or something is making what used to be your comfort zone uncomfortable. And so what we call that on the journey is you're getting a call. You're getting a call to do something different, make a change. Maybe it's leaving the job you're in, or asking for a promotion, or moving to another state, or selling your house, or getting rid of all your clutter. And recently a coaching client got rid of a third of her wardrobe just in an effort to clear out. I don't know what it is. There's so many different ones, and they're never to be judged. When I've done this with women together, a rule is always don't judge anybody else's call, because for you, it might not be a big deal what they're getting called to do, but for them it is. It's so unique to the person. So you get a call and you can refuse the call. I'm staying in my comfort zone. I'm not leaving. It'd be too hard to do what this call is asking me to do. But usually it just keeps at it, keeps at you, knocking on your internal door. Sometimes it gets so loud, it becomes a wake-up call. Okay, all right already, I'm going to do it. Eventually, the heroine answers the call. And that really is what sets a heroine apart. Somebody who has the courage to answer her call. And then she's in a new situation. A new job, a new relationship, a new state, a new cleared out house because of the work she's been, something, it has changed up for her, maybe in a little way, maybe in a big way. And that's kind of, I call it the road of adventure. She's in the unknown. She hasn't been there before, whatever her situation is. So things happen on that road. She meets people. Some people are helpful. Some people aren't helpful. So she's always navigating what comes up and dealing with it, learning every time. Some are more disconcerting challenges. And sometimes when it's really kind of roiling her up and tossing and turning her and putting her upside down and pulling the rug out from under her feet, that definitely happens. We call that being in the belly of the whale. And Joseph Campbell called that like being reborn. And when you think about it, so the big calls that you answer are about rebirthing you into the next iteration of your greatness, the next iteration of your being alive, growing, it elevates you. And so you have to have some situation that shakes you and unnerves you, because Otherwise, you just keep seeing things the way you've always been seeing them in the past. You need to look at things differently, be different, grow. That takes some shaking up. And again, you could be having that experience and not know about the heroine's journey and the belly of the whale and think, this is horrible. This is awful what's happening to me. I'd just rather be dead. But if you know about the heroine's journey and you know that there will be events, belly of the whale events that turn you upside down to grow you, to shake you, so you'll get out of your old paradigm and see things differently because, excuse me, heroine, you're much bigger than you think you are, then you'll look at it differently. Oh, this must be a belly of the whale experience, and great. What do I have to learn from it? Such an opportunity. And then sometimes, not always, there will be what I call dragons in a particular journey. And that's usually some old fear that comes up that probably you got when you were a child and you couldn't understand it then. It just stayed with you and it's kind of still driving you in some way, some old belief. One for me was, you can't do it alone. I had very protective parents that wanted to always help me. And so I got this, you can't do it alone. And so I had to learn through more than one journey that I can do it alone. So they won't always come up, but it's usually if a dragon appears, it's something that heroines know, all right, I need to understand this. And usually in mythology and fairy tales, you think of slaying the dragon, but a heroine is a good communicator, a good listener. She can speak her truth. And so it can be often about talking to the dragon. What's going on? Why? Who are you, dragon? And what are you about? And what do I have to understand from you? Again, useful to know this. So you interpret it when it happens differently than if you interpret it as this is the most cataclysmic event. And that's another way to look at the heroine's journey, is if these things happen to you, you can say, and you will know, yes, this seems like a calamity, but maybe it's an opportunity in disguise, which happens all the time on the heroine's journey. So you go through all these things, and always with you, something called the threshold guardians, those voices in your head, or perhaps people outside of you that want to bring you back to the comfort zone. Come back with us. We're very comfortable with you when you're the same old way. Don't change. We don't want you to change, because maybe they're threatened by your courage or by your wanting to make changes. And they're thinking, oh no, maybe I should too, but I don't want to. And so those voices will say things like, you're not smart enough. You don't know enough. You don't have enough credentials. Who do you think you are? You'll never make enough money. You can't do all of that. I was just talking with somebody recently who was going through a big heroine's journey change, and she's for 8 years. She said, those voices were with me the whole time. And it's, again, if you know this, then you, oh yeah, right. The threshold guardians, there they are again. Thanks for sharing. Okay, and you keep walking one step in front of the other. And eventually you come to the return threshold. You're done with that particular journey, with what you needed to do or learn. You're kind of in another groove, a new groove, and yeah, which might eventually become a new comfort zone before your next journey. But often if you know enough that you're on a journey and you're at the return threshold, you can then stop to celebrate what you've done and think about the lessons you've learned, the gifts you've gotten from that particular journey. And often with the heroine's journey, it's a gift of confidence, better understanding of who you are and your purpose and your identity and why you are in the world and what your talents are that only uniquely you can bring forward into the world. So that's the time to do an assessment. So remember that you will be going from threshold to threshold, the first threshold to the return threshold many times. And I will tell you again that to know these markers, to be aware of this magnificent pattern that's been with us for thousands of years, is very helpful. And I'm always encouraging people to see their lives through the lens of the journey archetype, because you will see things and be so proud of yourself, much more than you've ever been before. So I encourage you to do that matrix. Look at your former heroines' journeys, the times you've done the leaping and left your comfort zone and the adventure. What did you learn? Often women look forward. What do we have to do next? And don't think about all they've done. You have done this before. You've been doing leaping. I know you have. So thank you, heroines, for, again, accompanying me to talk about the heroine's journey, accompanying me on this journey. And remember always, don't forget, you are a heroine.